Hello and a very warm welcome back to my dear listeners. This is your host Sharmishta back with a new episode of The Secret of the Stone Mansion. Our friend Raghav has got more surprises in store for him. Do you have any other questions for me? Uh, no, not really, Mr. Majumdar, but what do you really think of Mr. Fernandez? Mr. Majumdar's jaws tightened. Raghav Babu, he has come to this place so many times, yet has never bothered to come and meet us at the church. That man is less of a parish and more of a danger. I would simply advise you to stay away from him. Strange, Mr. Majumdar. You say you have never met him, yet you just say that he's a danger. How do you know? Wait here a moment, Raghav Babu. Let me show you something. Mr. Majumdar returned a while later with a folded sheet of paper. Have a look at this. It's a telegram from the Bangalore church. Read it. You will understand why I cautioned you. Raghav read the telegram in silence and returned it to the parish. Thank you, Mr. Majumdar. Things are quite clearer now. I shall take your leave. Raghav was lost in thought long after returning to the forest bungalow. The story of the angry hound, whether it was really a demon deity or just a ghost wanting blood. Was that why Mr. Fernandez had asked Shadashi Babu to bring him the Adivasi boy? For a sacrifice? But why would a parish do that? Things were still not clear. And the telegram had left him stunned. The Bangalore church had expressed suspicion over Mr. Fernandez's frequent visits to the hill region and had asked Mr. Majumdar to keep an eye on him. Raghav couldn't sleep that night. He kept tossing and turning. Suddenly, in the stillness of the night, he heard a sound. Someone had opened a door, and then footfalls. Someone was walking down the corridor very cautiously. And then the sounds faded away. Raghav sat up. His two friends were fast asleep. After a few minutes, an earth-shattering scream rent the air, a scream of someone dying, and it seemed to come from behind the bungalow. And then, deathly silence. Raghav opened the door and rushed out. A few other guests were already in the corridor. Did you hear that? Seemed like someone was being killed. Everyone stood where they were, each of them scared to explore further. Raghav stepped out in the darkness. Careful, sir, a guest said. We don't know what just happened. His friends Riku and Jyotin had joined him by then. Raghav looked at the manager. Come on, Shadashi Babu, let's find out what's happened. But I don't want to. Come, Shadashi Babu. If someone has been murdered, then as the manager, you do have a responsibility. The four of them walked towards the place the sound had come from. A little ahead lay a form. All four recognized the person immediately. The caretaker, Mohendra Babu. He was lying by the well in a pool of blood, his throat sliced. But miraculously, he was still alive. Jyotin turned to the manager. Quick, we need to take him to the doctor. A doctor? But where do I get a doctor from? Raghav turned to him. Send someone to the local church, please. Mr. Majumdar, I saw a medical room at the church. Ask him to come here immediately. The manager hurried off. The caretaker's pulse had become feeble, but Jyotin had been able to stop the blood flow. Riku looked around. Everyone is here except Mr. Fernandez. Didn't he hear the scream? He must be asleep, one of the guests remarked. Riku stood up. Let's find out. Careful, young man, said another guest. The parish doesn't like being disturbed. Riku walked up to the parish's room and placed his hand on the door. It swung open. The room was dark. Mr. Fernandez? Mr. Fernandez, are you there? Riku switched on the light. The room was empty. Where did he go, and that too at this time of the night? Asked a guest. Riku replied grimly, I guess to his favorite place, and in the bargain tried to kill the caretaker. Mr. Majumdar had arrived by then with medicines, bandages, and a stretcher. He bent down and, examining the wound, frowned. What is it, Mr. Majumdar? This is not a knife wound. He has been bitten by an animal. Raghav stared at him. Angry hound? Is it really the angry hound on the prowl? What secrets does the stone mansion hide? Who is Mr. Fernandez? Let's find out as I return soon with the next episode. Till then.